What's something you did during sex that was so stupid you still facepalm about it today? I had sex with a deaf chick and I was moaning really loud, but she couldn't hear it, so I gave her a thumbs up for half of it. It became an inside joke. One girl I was with in high school was on top, and I had to fart real bad. I wasn't sure what to do, so I just tried to hold it in. She started to get more into it and picked up the pace, which caused a series of tiny rhythmic farts every time she came down. It sounded like a machine gun. She stopped and asked if I farted and I blamed the squeaky bed. She knew. Getting my wife's bra off. Too many damn straps and crap. I muttered Rubik's boob and we started laughing so hard we killed the moment. I asked my boyfriend to talk dirty to me. In the middle of sex he starts saying in my ear, fuck you, fuck you. I let it happen and afterwards burst out laughing, telling him to never do that again. An old girlfriend of mine said she wanted to be slapped while we were going at it. After 100% ensuring she really wanted to be slapped, I slapped her. I missed her cheek and smacked her right in the nose. She yelled, "Ow, fuck," but thankfully didn't hold it against me. This was a bit of a misunderstanding, but when my boyfriend and I first got together, I was going to give him a blowjob, so I took the gum out of my mouth and I thought I put it in the trash bin. I did not. After we finished I went to the bathroom and saw gum all over my hair. I guess it was still on my hand when I put my hair up with a hair tie. So I said, "Man, this takes me back to my childhood," referring to the gum stuck in my hair. When I walked back into his room, his face had changed from happy bliss to complete concern. After a pause he finally says he was so sorry and that we didn't have to do that again. He hadn't seen the gum in my hair. He thought I was talking about a childhood filled with blowjobs. Once we figured out the mix-up, he was still a bit shaken by my childhood. In college my girlfriend was riding me in my dark bedroom summer night. She was vigorously gyrating that I could feel her sweat dripping on me. Afterward we kissed and cuddled. When we turned on the light we discovered she had had a bloody nose and her blood was all over my neck and chest. My husband was trying to talk dirty to me and finished a sentence calling me a silly goose. Sex was postponed for a good 15 minutes while I laughed my ass off. He said arch your back while we were doing it doggy style and I arched it the wrong way, up, and he had to say no the other way. The first time I tried to kiss a guy, I closed my eyes, went forward with my mouth open, and bit his chin. She, who's very insecure, queefs very loud, and leans forward. Looks back at me, lip shaking like she's going to cry. I'm not grossed out or anything, but I do kinda feel bad for her. I seized this opportunity to let out a fart that I'd been holding in, and followed up with "It's okay, I do it too sometimes." It was unsuccessful. She just started bawling. Frown. Not me, but my girlfriend and I were in the middle of sexy times and we had been wanting to get more comfortable with dirty talk, and after a little bit of back and forth she said, "How bad do you want this dick? I mean, pussy." We just laughed it off. But she still gets embarrassed thinking about it to this day. Getting hot and heavy with my GF in bed, making out and getting ready to start the main event. We're whispering back and forth to each other when I say, "I wanna be inside you." To which she immediately responded, "What? What did you say?" After a very confusing moment, I realized she thought I said, "I want to pee inside you." It kinda killed the mood. BTW. Fucking autocorrect almost made me post this as getting hot and heavy with my grandfather in bed. Glad I'm a paranoid proofreader. The first time he went down on me he had a slight cold and I was super nervous, so he's going at it, right up in there, and my brain decided to ask him, "How's your nose?" He just looked up at me, shook his head, and kept going. Thankfully, a girl invited me over to her house to watch the Wonder Woman movie. While we're watching it she starts kissing on me and teasing me. I said, "What about the movie?" She says to me, "Come on to the bedroom, it'll be better than the movie," and while we're going at it she says, "See, isn't this better than the movie?" And before I could catch myself I said, "I don't know, I haven't seen the rest of the movie." Not me, but a very good friend of mine had the total hots for a girl, had been working on getting her interested for the longest time, took her out, wined and dined her, got her finally to come back to his place, put some nice music on, candles, wine, setting a lovely mood. They were making out. Clearly, things were about to happen. She took off her top, exposing what he now describes as spectacular and exquisite alabaster breasts. And he exclaimed in giddy surprise, "Oh God, they're massive." Like an absolute moron to the gods of boobies. Which of course, she was not bowled over by. She started crying, pulled her top back on and left. It's been 20 odd years, he still brings it up whenever he has a remorse boner. I farted while getting a BJ. I'm sorry I couldn't hold it in any longer. Sex with a bald girl. I'm hitting from the back and I'm super horny, and in the moment I couldn't think of an alternative to hair pulling, so I just grabbed her head like a fucking basketball. She starts dying laughing immediately. Edit, thanks for all the awards, praying she's not a regular AskReddit user. Reddit percent 232. Wow, I'm glad you all got a good laugh out of it. I didn't think it was that funny when it happened, but in retrospect it is pretty funny, lol. So, we just started to have normal sex. After a while he probably thought it was sexy or whatever to ask me in a disguised voice how I want him to fuck me. Yeah, well, the different sounding voice just confused me in that moment so much that I just blankly stared at him for a couple of seconds without either of us doing/saying anything, until I started to choke on my own saliva and we had to take a break so I could drink something. It was awkward. Very. One time I slipped off the bed and literally fell out of her. Lost my virginity to a girl with an IUD, so we just kinda raw dogged it. Basically I nutted in like 30 seconds but didn't wanna disappoint, so I just kept going for like 15 minutes till she was like, "Yo, are you good?" And I told her I nutted like ages ago and we laughed. So when I'm drunk and tired I start saying extremely weird things with no recollection of it afterwards. Sex is no exception here, unfortunately. The worst thing I've said was probably my reply to a "how was it?" when I supposedly just dryly shrugged and said nothing to be proud of. First time. I put it in and just expected things to happen. I mean, it felt warm and nice, but not even close to how good it felt when I masturbated. We figured things out the second time round though. Not really bad but weird. I was having sex with my GF in the missionary position and out of nowhere she stuck her middle finger up my ass. No warning or anything. What really freaked me out was I came instantly. Didn't have any control over it. I was nervous around my first college crush. After a few weeks of talking I finally got her into my room. We were on my bed making out, getting touchy-feely. I realized pretty quickly that she wasn't wearing any panties under her short shorts. I looked down and said, "I can see your vajay." She laughed awkwardly, said she had to go, and we never spoke romantically again. My very first time, with a gal who was out of my league. We stripped off our clothes and were making out, and both of us totally naked. I said, "So, what next? Do I ask for a blowjob?" She laughed it off and said, "Let me take the lead on this one. I miss her." I once asked a girl if she came and she said she didn't know. I told her, "You probably did." Going ooh when I came. Her roommate had friends over and they still make fun of me to this day for it. That movie with Ben Stiller and Jennifer Aniston where he counts to 50 before coming to make sure he lasted. Yeah? I fucking did that. It was a quickie. I yelled 50. And she looked at me like I have Tourette's instead of making an obscure movie reference. When it was my first time, I didn't really know what to do. So I thought it would be a good idea to copy what I saw in a dumb teen movie. So once I'm about to put it in I start laughing as if someone was tickling me, cause that's what they did in the movies. She just said, "YTF are you laughing?" It was very awkward sex. That time we headbutted instead of kissing after coitus. My girlfriend a while ago liked to do the ice cube, cup of tea blowjob trick. One night we didn't have any ice cubes, only a bag of frozen peas. She went down on me with a mouthful and it turns out that peas in the mouth defrost really fast. After about 20 seconds she choked and coughed blowjob mushy peas all over me and my new sheets. Improvise. Adapt. Overcome. Accidentally tried to put it in the wrong hole my first time. She even had to say wrong hole. The movies always made it seem like everything would just line up perfectly, wouldn't have to look and line things up, like I could just slide on in without breaking eye contact. I now know a bit better. So embarrassing. 14-year-old me never having jerked off, getting frisky with my first girlfriend when she asks if I'm close. I say I don't know, does it feel like peeing? She says I think so. I proceed to pee everywhere while I run to the bathroom. I used to be terrified of premature ejaculation. To the point, I could get it up in the first place, and if I did, then I obviously, immediately ejaculated. What I didn't realize is that 99% of women will just take this as a big compliment. As long as you are willing to continue engaging with them, you will have a much more lasting round 2 in about 30 seconds. My biggest mistake was getting insecure about normal sexual behavior and being defensive instead of complimentary. I finally found my confidence in my 30s, and if there's one single piece of advice I could give young men trying to get some, it's this. Be nice. As long as you respect your partner, and aren't under any situation going to feel weird afterwards about a hat you want to do with them, then most women just want to be treated kindly. It's not a huge life commitment. It's just two people enjoying each other, so be nice. That is all. Laying on my bed with my GF giving me a blowjob, she puts her finger under my balls and I farted super loud. I still get embarrassed thinking about it cause her face was like right there lmao. She was a good sport to edit words. Mistaking pillow talk for stand-up routine. First time I saw a penis, I was like wow, so that's it. I meant like wow, it's actually there. Here it is. But he understood it like it wasn't big or something long. Like where's the rest of it? I was sleeping over a guy's house who was a few years older than me, 30M/26F, and warned him that I had my period ahead of time, so sex was a no-go. We were cuddling for a while when he said, I know you have your period, but there are other options. I wasn't super comfortable with the idea of trying anal and told him I had never done that before. A few minutes later I gave him a BJ instead. Admittedly not my best, as it had been 4 years since my last relationship at that point and I was a little rusty. Fast forward to a few weeks later when he made a comment about being willing to teach me how to give a blowjob since I had never done it before, aside from the one time a few weeks prior. I was caught off guard and replied in a slightly flustered way that of course I've done that before, which was indeed true. Then it clicked when I was on my period he was trying to subtly suggest a blowjob, not anal, and I had told him I had never done that before thinking he was talking about the wrong thing. Embarrassing for a few reasons. One, he clearly thought I lied about my sexual experiences and I lost all credibility at that point. 2, since he was quick to believe I had never given a BJ and wanted to teach me how to give one. I apparently have the blowjob skills of a virgin who had never seen a penis before. Our relationship ended shortly after that and I'm convinced to this day that it's because he thought I was a liar who was bad at sex. First time I tried to suck a dick I was so nervous I just held it in my hand and started singing that stupid flamingo song while rocking back and forth. Well, a hookup and I were going at it, and she wanted to give me head, and while she was putting her hair back, the TV in the background, which happened to be Star Wars, said something about the Force. My 5-brain cell self thought it was a good idea to make a snarky comment about the Force while flexing my dick going up and down. She busted out laughing and so did I, and sex drive went out the door because we were too busy laughing at how stupid I am. So I met this girl at a bar one night. She had very vibrantly red hair. So I end up going home with her. All was well. We exchanged numbers and I left. So we meet up again and her hair is bluer than the sky, so I say, oh shit, I like the new hair color. So she proceeds to tell me they are wigs. She had destroyed her hair and shaved it off, so, now wigs. The facepalm is, one night she's giving me oral. I look over and there's 2 different wigs next to me. I still don't know what possessed me to do it. But I took the one on her head off and, naturally, put a different one on. I did a porn audition. I was all ready, but meant to get my nails done beforehand. I looked at Walmart for a quick solution and found glue on acrylic nails. I had never used them before, but the box said they'd hold up to 2 weeks. Fast forward to the audition, and it started off with me masturbating on the couch. I was rubbing my clit and I felt the nails start to pop off one by one. I tried not to panic, and go with it. When I moved my hand I had a bunch of false nails stuck to my vagina. He was recording the whole time. I awkwardly laughed and asked to take them off and redo the shoot. But the embarrassment affected my performance and I just came off as extremely awkward. I got an email a few days later thanking me for they had not laughed like that in a long time. They said they didn't think I'd fit the part but asked if they could pay me for the segment to use in, for lack of a better term, a blooper reel. I haven't auditioned anywhere else since and don't plan to. Pretty much ruined it for me. But at least I can laugh about it now instead of being completely mortified. My ex farted as he came once. He cared so much and never let it down. He didn't care at all. Miss you, Joe, you piece of shit. My wife snuggled up to me and placed her hand on my groin, to which I replied, that was a bold move, Cotton, let's see how this plays out. She ended up laughing so much that it ended the sexy time. Freshman year of college. Got to drinking with some of our dorm mates and went to a concert. One of them was pretty into me and we were dancing and hooking up and then decided to go back to our dorm to hook up. We were leaning over like halfway off the bed and making out. Her back was arched over the bed and I scooted too far forward and literally flipped her heels over head off of the bed and onto her plastic nightstand, smashing it. We carried on and got things done, but in the morning I had to take her to the walk-in clinic because she was in pain and both of her dermal piercings came out and it was gross. She also got stabbed by the broken plastic from the nightstand. Turns out she broke 2 ribs. So yeah, I basically suplexed a girl and still got laid. I had a seizure, I'm epileptic. But it really showed how much he cares about me because he stopped everything and made sure I was positioned correctly to be okay. When I came to, he was stressed out and I was like, are you gonna put it in or what? But he explained what happened and that he wasn't in the mood anymore. Lol. I felt so bad but so touched. I'm still dating him after 5 years and gonna move in with him in 2 months. Edit 1. It's come to my attention reading the comments below that while I thought this was great, this should be normal. If he were to take action during my seizure, that'd be rape and you should never take advantage of someone with a disability. Never rape at all. 2. Thanks for the awards. D. Having sex while standing, holding GF face to face, and supporting her off the ground with my arms under her legs. Yeah, you have to have some strength to do this. So she's all into this new position, and my arms are getting tired, so I have the idea to walk forward and put her back against the wall. Except it was the patio sliding glass door. In January, which was freezing cold. Bare GF back against a cold piece of glass. Nope. That definitely broke the mood. My buddy fell asleep in the middle of it. On top of her. And he was much bigger than she was. When my wife and I first met. I moved my head downtown to have fun with her lady bits, but didn't have enough space at the bottom of the bed. The foot of the bed frame was in the way. So I licked and kissed my way from her waist up to her earlobes and then sensually whispered, "Scoot up." We died laughing for a good 10 minutes before we got back to it. I fuked my ex. I haven't noticed it until, after some minutes, she says, "I don't know what you're doing, but can you put it inside?" I forgot hot pink anal beads in my butt and walked to the bathroom wondering what happened to them. Turned out I had a tail and my ex was laughing his ass off at me. Not something I did, but a few years ago a, now ex, of mine and I were watching the first Star Wars prequel. Shortly after Jar Jar was introduced, she said, "My so horny." That still gives me a kick. Not me but my freshman year roommate brought a lady home from the bar and asked me if I could give him the room. I knew he was a virgin and the woman seemed consenting and wanting me to take off too. I happily obliged. However, about 10 paces down the hall I heard my roommate scream Mortal Kombat. I turned back towards my room. The lady was hurriedly leaving and as I walked in I saw my roommate totally naked. I asked, "Did you just strip and yell Mortal Kombat as soon as I left?" He replied that he had. I was like, "Okay bro, let's have a chat." Still cracks me up to this day. Not exactly during sex. But my wife and I were tripping balls together and had been fooling around. She gets really wet, which I love. And for whatever reason, my acid brain thought it would be a good idea to compare how wet she gets to a swamp. I think my exact words were, "God, I love how wet you get, it's like a swamp." We still laugh about it from time to time. More funny than stupid, well ended in pain and laughing. Banging a chick doggy style and got a leg cramp, then my knee slipped off the edge of the bed. I went down like a sack of potatoes and hit the floor hard. I went to eat her ass on the first date. That's a third date sort of thing. I felt sort of like a slut. Whispering I want to be inside of you instead of I want you inside of me to a new male partner. I started dozing off when he was fucking me slowly in the spooning position. I was still attempting mumble sexy stuff until I said, "Oh yeah babe, we need to refactor the code because it was a long day," and I started to dream about work. I think that's one of the least sexy things someone has said in bed. He had gotten me a raccoon onesie for my birthday, so I thought it would be a great idea to dress up in it, wrap him up in a blanket to resemble a trash bag, and pretend to be a trash panda rummaging through garbage until I discover a sausage. Once I found the sausage, I think I said something the effect of "OMG, a whole sausage. Today is my lucky day. Thank you sweet Jesus." Unsurprising, the sausage immediately shriveled up and I didn't get to have any that night. Went in raw, and now I have a toddler-aged kid. When the post-nut clarity hit, I literally said that was a mistake. Not me but my husband. He was being silly, jumped up on the bed but hit the overhead light with his hand, raining pieces of glass onto said bed and cutting a gash in his calf. No sex for us that night. About 20 years ago. The first time I had proper naked sex, I had no idea what I was doing. It was all going good, few hiccups, but that's to be expected. Anyway, for some stupid reason I thought, hey, I'm gonna lick you out. So me, a complete newbie, who put his finger in the wrong hole 10 minutes prior, went down south softly kissing as I went, smooth. When I finally got there I just froze and looked at it. Just stared at it. For a good, I'd say, 40 to 50 seconds. 2 inches away from my face. When she looked down and said, "What are you doing?" I just looked up and with a crackly voice said, "Oh, it's fine, I'm just looking like I was in a fucking shop." We powered through though and I had a fantastic time. I'd think I should add that not long after our sexual encounter the girl in the story came out as gay. I like to think I had something to do with that. Wait, she was ready to go. I was about to go down on her and thought it would be funny to yell "All hail the magic conch." Then proceed to oodlodloodloo. Between her legs. Never before had I seen my fiancée dry up so quickly and get so red with annoyance before. Needless to say, no sex was had at night and I've never done it since. I got with a girl on Tinder and we was watching a movie and she wanted to give me a blowjob since she was on her period that week. So I pull my pants down and she goes to town and she figured out I was ready to blow, and the moment I come she pulled my cock out her mouth and faced it right at me like a loaded gun, and my cum shot right over my head and some in my hair. Well, not really what I did during sex, but more before, deciding where to do it. We were teenagers. So we did it at night on a graveyard. Didn't result in sex, but the closest I ever came to sex in high school. My friend and I were in the basement and getting cozy, snuggling, talking. I sit up, she sits back, opens her legs, clothed, and gives a come hither with her finger. What do? I lay down with my back through her legs, back of head on her stomach, like we were just getting more comfortable and a better view of the TV. Completely killed the mood, never came that close with her again. I realized my mistake literally the moment it happened, but it was too late. Still don't know what I was thinking or what took my body over to do something like that. Obligatory not me but a friend. Girl from a very conservative sheltered Christian family in the South goes to college and starts to experience more of the world. Ends up with her first boyfriend ever and they eventually make their way to doing the deed. Long story short, as he neared climax he asked, "Who's your king, baby?" Her immediate reply stemmed from her childhood Jesus. Both came instantly. When I came my upper body froze up and I drooled on her face. I felt the spit making its way out and I couldn't move my arms or body. This happened twice with the same girl. A very straight MFM threesome and I put both dicks in my mouth at the same time. BC I saw it in porn. The men did not like quite that, but it did bring them closer together as friends. First blowjob, she was dripping wet and I had just came, and being the dumb kid I was, When she got on me and started making out with me, I was like, no, the sperm's gonna swim up her juices and get you pregnant, and pushed her off me. She looked at me like I was the dumbest person alive. She was crazy and cheated on me. Dodged a bullet. Edit. Fuck, why is this my most upvoted post? I was fingering and using toys on my girl while we were stoned and listening to EDM. My high ass has a brilliant idea. I was working my fingers against her G-spot faster and faster as the track was building up. Right when the beat dropped, I smacked her clit with my hand, hard. It definitely ruined the moment, but we had a good laugh later. My first time, her vagina started bleeding and I was so shocked I thought she was dying. So I started crying. Having sex in my parents' house, my room, and my GF's phone went off. It was her mum and she answered. We carried on silently and I gradually built up a good speed/depth. She nearly screamed a couple of times. I then got way too into it and said, "I'm coming." Followed by groans and grunts. Her mum was still on the phone. GF also let out an "ah." She was a screamer, so very well controlled. Her mother didn't talk to me for like a month. Her dad only gave me side eye for a while. We are no longer together, but stayed together for 10+ years after this incident. I might have farted as I came the first time I received oral sex from my girlfriend. It wasn't a sneaky toot either. It could have broken her jaw with its ferocity. I retreated to the hotel bathroom to clean up and lay on the floor laughing. Thankfully she was on the bed howling with laughter also. Dirty talk on phone. I forgot exactly what we were talking about. We were discussing cosplay or something. She said she wanted to cosplay as a cheerleader, but my dumbass thought she wanted to cosplay as a cheeseburger. I asked her, did you say you wanted to cosplay as a cheeseburger? She thought I was crazy as hell and we both laughed really hard. No idea how the hell I got cheeseburger out of cheerleader. My boyfriend at the time was trying to take my tight jeans off, and struggling mightily to get them over my hips. I lifted my hips up to assist with the process and the jeans came off quickly and he flew backwards and hit his head on the wall. It was absolutely hilarious and I laughed. He did not find it equally funny, and sexy times were put off so he could nurse his head injury and his pride. She was laying on me on my couch in a kind of 69 position, her shorts were pulled down and I was just kind of grabbing her ass and getting closer to her vagina, rubbing and all that. Then I noticed this string and thought it was a thread from her panties. So I naturally wanted to grab it and tear it off. I grab it and give a slight tug and say, "You have a string." I never saw a girl pull her pants up quicker in my life. I knew she was on her period but I wasn't even thinking. I instantly hugged her tightly and said, "Oh no, I'm sorry," and we just laughed for the next 10 minutes. She was more embarrassed than I was, but goddamn I felt stupid. I'm just glad we laughed and hugged it off. Tried to have sex 2 hours after a vasectomy. When it came time to finish, it was the most painful moment of my life. One of my first times I thought for some reason unlubricated condoms were the way to go. They were not. Not long after getting into it we both got friction burned. She was screaming. I was screaming. I was literally bleeding after. Took about a month to heal up. There was not a second time for us. During foreplay I was super nervous about my size. I blurted out, "I'm probably not big enough for you." She looked confused and said I didn't have to say that. Lol. Was a bit drunk and depressed, asked her if she was going to kill herself, how would she do it? During sex. Blow into the vagina as if it was a damn balloon. The look she gave me. It haunts me. Got too excited, elbowed my then GF when changing position. She looked like she had been in a fight. Still feel stupid for it. A friend of mine told me him and his girlfriend once recorded themselves having sex but did some role play with it too. He showed me the video and it's him laying on the bed bollock naked and wanking. His girlfriend knocks on the bedroom door and I kid you not, the motherfucker lets out a yahoo. Big summer blowout. Not sex, but literally just a couple of days ago, I was heavily flirting with a guy. And as we're talking back and forth, he said, "I like the way your brain works." I said, "If you like my brain, you should try my mouth." The silence that followed. That was fun. Have not spoken since. Lamau. Are those the panties your mother laid out for you? Me, oh, Julie. Narrator, her name was not Julie. Oof. So this girl and I, who have always been attracted to each other, finally had an opportunity to do it. She told me that she had just finished her period before we started the fun. After about 10 minutes of fucking, I notice that she's very wet and I look down just to see a little residual blood from her period, to which I think nothing of it. It's normal. So she saw me glass down there and she does the same. She sees the blood around my dick and says, "OMG, are you okay? Have you been tested?" So obviously I'm like, "Yeah, I'm fine." "And how do you not know that is from your period, etc." It turns out that her mind figured I had some weird bloody dick discharge disease. After she realized that she fucked up, she asks, "Oh my god, did I ruin it?" Without skipping a beat I just sighed. Yeah. This redhead was facing me while riding and wanted me to slap her ass. I do so. She laughs and said I can do better than that. So I wind up for a proper one. The slap glances off her ass cheek and I smack myself in my own nuts. Immediately go limp and in too much pain to speak. Make me laugh out loud to this day. Threesomes are a mess in general, but one time I was beyond hammered, and we were changing up game plans, but I stumbled, fell, did a backwards roll over the bed, crashed into the dresser but somehow landed on my feet. Luckily my GF and the girl were so busy so they didn't notice. When my wife and I were 19 we finished a day-long fuck session at the end of a Campbell's soup commercial. Soon as all the fuck sounds die down, good jingle blasts. 15 plus years later we still laugh about it. First time I got the chance to finger a girl I missed and plunged it straight into her asshole. My dumbass didn't even know until days later when she brought it up. Makes sense now why she looked so surprised. Well, I didn't mean to do this, but I was having major stomach issues one day and my BF at the time wanted to have sex. As we were just about to do it doggy style, I let out the biggest and loudest fart right in his face. Needless to say we stopped then and there, and I'll never forget that lmao. With my first girlfriend I wore a condom about 2 sizes too big, had really amazing sex, then realized to my utter horror that the condom had slipped off. I said nothing. I looked around, to no avail. I prayed to the sweet Lord that what I knew to be true was only the stuff of biblical tests of strength and faith, nothing more than a horrible metaphor. But the truth became undeniable when I suddenly saw the tail end peeking out from betwixt my lady's lips. Shame and indignity fell upon me, but with the last little spark of hope left within me I whispered sweet nothings to her in a desperate attempt to distract her from the moment I yanked that son of a bitch out of her like the pull cord on a lawnmower. She noticed. And that is why I don't front on people with rubbers and just buy my real size. This guy and I were doing missionary. He had just slid in and thrusted a few times when he suddenly says, "Oh, 1 second," grabs a tissue from the nightstand and proceeds to thoroughly blow his nose right above my face. I just laid there, eyes wide open, wondering if that really just happened, and he continued pumping while I thought of excuses to leave. Edit, was a one-time thing with a stranger from the internet when I was younger. If a longtime partner would do that today I wouldn't mind it, but I was young and extremely grossed out by the scene. Said guy wrote and recorded a song for me after and I never responded to him again. TL, doctor got too drunk, ended sex abruptly, embarrassed myself. I can't remember clearly, I was pretty much blackout drunk. Wasted one Mardi Gras with some friends and I'm getting friendly with a girl I hadn't met before. She's a good friend with some of our other pals we were with. Late at night when the group start heading back to the hotel I suddenly forget how to walk and face planted on the sidewalk. I'm missing a good 25% of the skin on my face, but we're going to the same hotel regardless, and drinking some more. I had stains all over my pants from spilled drinks and I'm missing an eyebrow along with most my forehead, but despite looking like a drunken bum that just got caught in a giant cheese grater, we start making out. I'm fingering and mumbling something like "tell me what you like." My memory pretty much cuts out there, but I didn't get the girl. Something I said or did turned her off more than my miserable state to just no pout right in the middle of it. But I did jerk off and clean myself with someone's sock. I wouldn't have known I jerked off in a random person's sock if all my friends hadn't found it and showed everyone, questioning me in the morning. Brutal hangover. I went down on my wife and I had one of those magic endless handkerchief things. I said, "What is this?" She gets all weird. I say it's a sort of. Then I start pulling 17 handkerchiefs out of her privates with a big stupid smile on my face. She said it killed the mood. I'm like whatever. Blew one breath too many, making her pop. Plastic everywhere. Practiced my Jerry Seinfeld impersonation. I had been working on the voice for quite some time, and would often pull it out to amuse my partner, friends. Bear in mind though, the impression, by objective standards, was subpar to straight bad. So during sexy times with my GF following some intense foreplay and undressing, I inserted myself into her. I let out a heavy breath in pleasure, and she asks sexily, "Do you like that?" Then I swear without any intention, I involuntarily exclaim, practically yelling, "Like it? I'll keep it." We still reference that moment to this day. Also, the sex was interrupted by her being shocked but also cracking up, but we did eventually get there. I've seen a few others say similar things, but I've slapped an old girlfriend too hard after we drank and she got really mad. She had even said harder, farted while she ate my butt. Luckily it wasn't while she was down there, but she did not do it again for a while. I also met up a girl on Tinder who told me I'm just trying to get some, you know? She drove 45 minutes to my house at night in the rain. I was thinking I was gonna get murdered or it was a prank till she finally showed up and looked good. Then we immediately started making out and went to my bedroom, and we did it raw dog. I regretted no protection, but luckily everything was okay. Also, I should have ended it there, but we kept meeting up. I even asked her to go eat like dates, but she was angry I'd only ever text or call on days I wanted her to come over. Also, the first time I had sex with my second girlfriend, I don't know why, but I was giggling and basically laughing during sex. She was saying, "Why are you laughing? I don't think you're supposed to be laughing." I have no idea why. I just told her I was nervous. Maybe it was because I thought her ass was so round and nice that I couldn't believe it. Accidentally punched my wife in the vagina. Was finishing eating her out and was getting a little too overzealous. Got up to my knees to assume the missionary position, except had too much forward momentum. Fell forward and nearly had accidentally fisting. Luckily she wasn't hurt and we laughed about it and continued. I was having sex with my now husband, and a silent but deadly fart slipped out. Suddenly the room starts filling with the awful smell. Impulsively I decide I need to quickly pin the blame on someone so that he doesn't know it was me, and without thinking I say, did you fart?" Obviously it was me. He knew he didn't fart, I knew I did, but he was such a gentleman, he just said, "Yeah, that was me, sorry." Oh man. I'm American, and at 18 I visited England for a summer study abroad. I dreamed of a handsome Brit and summer romance, but never thought it would happen. Then there was this guy in the mail room at uni that was fucking gorgeous, and we had an awesome 6 weeks. Except I, well, wasn't prepared for that. Like legit y'all, low self-esteem and zero expectations. We were getting hot and heavy in my coffin-sized dorm room, and he said, while fingering me, and I quote, can I use me self? Now, what the fuck use me self meant I had no goddamn clue, but I thought it was whacking off. Like mutual masturbation. So I said sure. But then he busts out a condom and my slow ass gets it, and I said no, and he, like the fucking prince he was, hugged me as I apologized for my misunderstanding and thanked him for his patience. Because he was fucking awesome. Life hasn't treated him well, but damn it Ben, you deserve it. My first time where someone used dirty talk on me. Me being caught off guard and missing some blood in my brain, my reflex reply was heavily sarcastic and almost shut things down right there. Classic story. I accidentally fucked the couch instead of her. Once, while getting a blowjob, I let out this insane caveman grunt. He laughed. I felt so embarrassed. Never spoke about it. It bothered for me 2 years until I was telling the story to a friend who said, "Dude, if you were giving a BJ and the guy made an uncontrollable noise from the pleasure, how would you feel?" I said, "Pretty proud of myself." And she replied, "Yeah? Let it go. He did a good job and your body let him know it. What the fuck are you so bothered by?" It's good to have a friend who can spin a story for you. I have totally let that go now. Well, a little bit of context to maybe save myself. I was a really short, skinny, nerdy kid, back when being nerdy wasn't cool, and I was permanently single. I felt like I was never going to actually have a real girlfriend. A co-worker friend of mine, who had a boyfriend, went to a club with me to dance and get a bit tipsy. I was really stupid back then when it came to women or signals or any of that stuff. We had our fun and headed back. She said she didn't want to go back to her family drunk, so she wanted to get a motel room. So we were in there and I was just going to let her rest it off like a gentleman, but she finally started coming onto me. Anyhow, the stupid part is that this girl started making out with me and moving things forward quite quick. Considering she was truly just a friend of mine, I didn't think anything would happen between us, or anyone else with how low my self-esteem was, so I didn't come with a condom or anything. I think I thought about it for a split second before doing everything I thought people were supposed to do in this situation. We both were naked and I just went in. I didn't ask any questions beforehand, nor did I worry about STDs or if she were on the pill or anything. I don't even think I knew the pill existed at this point. Typical first timers. Time later I climax and pulling out wasn't even in my vocabulary, so I stayed inside. She went and cleaned up and we ended up falling asleep together, which wasn't a plan. I told my family, so they were worried sick about me all night. Luckily her boyfriend didn't find out about this either because he was huge compared to me and I knew he was a violent and abusive person, which is probably partly why she was messing around with me. Nothing ever did come of it though. No STDs, no pregnancy, no beatings by a boyfriend. I was very lucky. It really wasn't until much later that I realized just how stupid it really was and how much it could have cost me. I was stupid enough to think she was actually into me, but the more I looked back at it, it was just a whole night to set that action up. I think she was frustrated with her boyfriend and wanted to have some fun outside of him. She supposedly messed around with a friend of mine that also worked with us for a short time. Lesson learned. I told her I wasn't a grower or a shower. Told her I love her, while inside, around 10 seconds after I came. Yeah, I was stupid, thanks the heaven. She's just laughed and told me to wait a bit before going all in. Still together after 2 years, but I was lucky she did not feel too smothered. My ex and I were basically virgins and were exploring each other in the bedroom when we dated. One night I did the giving a higgy on the ear trick and she loved it. So the next night she thought to do the same to me, but she actually bit down hard on my earlobe, causing me to bleed all over her pillows. She basically pulled a Mike Tyson on me. I still laugh at that 3 years later. I have lots of these, but, frankly, the brace I'm currently sporting on my elbow for the tendonitis I recently gave myself, and then made worse by repeating the exact same problematic sexual position a week later, is definitely making me question my common sense. Lol. Told my GF at the time that her breath stank a bit. She was super embarrassed and immediately took a time out to clean up. Thankfully we laughed it off then and there. Maybe a bit rude on my part, but it really did stink, man. Blatantly creeped a girl not knowing if she was in the pill or not. Why the facepalm, you may ask? She asked me if I'd just come inside her. Like a total tit I said no. Did you? She told me to answer the phone when my mom called while we were going at it. I did. We didn't stop, but mom didn't notice. WTF younger me. So I cooked a lovely meal earlier on in the evening that involved chilies. After the meal we got going, and when I used my hands on her we both discovered there was enough chili under my fingernails to cause a reaction. Basically her vagina practically caught fire. I have never been screamed at like that since, but she forgave me and now years later we're happily married with a young family. My girlfriend at the time and I were starting to fool around, but when she got my shirt off, she rubbed my shoulders and said, "Fuck, I just love your skin." My brain had the simultaneous thoughts, that's so hot and that's some serial killer shit. So my mouth decided to split the difference and say we like I was a kid on a slide. We did not continue. Okay. There are two. My husband was going down on me and when I came I let out a massive fart. Right in his face. You know those Listerine fresh breath strips? Well, if you put one in your mouth and let it dissolve, then go down on your partner, it can give a nice sensation for them. I was waiting for my husband in a very dark bedroom and I reached for the breath strips. But instead of putting one in my mouth, I ended up putting what must have been 8 or 9. They started melting and it was overwhelming. My husband came in and turned on the light to find me scooping blue goop out of my mouth, blue drool on my chin, and my eyes watering. Not exactly the sexiest scenario. I had a FWB a few years ago. One night I had tonsillitis. She came over to hang out and have sex. While we made dinner we were both very attentive to not share a glass etc. so she wouldn't get sick. So after that we had sex. We were into really rough and dirty sex. At one point while she was on her knees in front of me giving me a blowjob, I told her to open her mouth and spit in her mouth. We normally both found that hot. I instantly realized how stupid that had been and we both laughed about it. Luckily she didn't get sick. I've always been into name calling and my fiance's a nerd. He hasn't done this kind of thing before. So I was super horny, close to an orgasm, and asked him to call me names. He goes, "Do you like this dick, you unemployed lady?" I was like, WTF. My unemployment status during COVID times is the last thing I want to be reminded of during sex. Lol. Back in high school about 15 years ago I had the bright idea to spice things up by having sex to the rhythm of a song. I chose Sandstorm by Darude. It was bad. One time when we were going at it, we had Adventure Time playing in the background. We had already been going through an entire episode and I still didn't finish and she had already came like twice. But what is stupid is that the next episode, Finn and Jake were learning how to be wizards and towards the end they had their final battle of the episode and Jake was trying to sleep through it, so Finn shoots an awakening spell and Jake says deflect and keeps sleeping. At the moment it was so funny. I laughed myself limp. She was glad considering the fact that she didn't really like the fact that I lasted long. Was with my girlfriend at the time and I had her legs up over my shoulders, was going like the clappers but periodically slipping out, so once we were done she ended up squirming around on the floor continually queefing whilst belly laughing at it. Didn't make us cringe, just found it hilarious. I shot myself in the eye coming while having sex with my boyfriend. 10 years ago. I don't have dissonance like that anymore.